right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. But today on the show, we're not doing that. Today on the show, it is the end of the year. It's the last episode of the year, and I wanted to take a look back at 2024 and everything that I've been up to, both with this podcast, with all of my other work within podcasting, and with my music career, which anyone who listens to the show knows I balance a lot of stuff. So, this is something I started last year. I'd been thinking about doing it for a few years before that, and it just never kind of got around to it. And then last year, I finally did one, and I felt like it was a good idea, and so I'm going to do it again this year. And I will say we were just away on a Christmas trip, and then it's just been like catch up, like not ketchup, but catch up ever since, trying to get in a whole bunch of stuff before the end of the year. We're actually recording our top 10 films of the year episode in a couple of days. Also top 10 first time watches, which I always do with Josh Bell from Awesome Movie Year. Also, we're going to do a top 10 of the decade so far. If you listen to Piecing It Together, you know me and Josh Bell, we always do a top 10 of the year so far at the midway point, and 2025 is the midway point for an all new decade. So we're doing a top 10 of the decade so far episode. I also have top 10 film scores. I got a whole bunch of other stuff, as well as regular episodes to keep putting out. Speaking of which, live show coming out at Maya Cinemas on January 9th on Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. I'm so excited for that. I'll be posting more news about that in the next couple of days, I believe. As soon as tickets go on sale from the theater, we'll be able to start revealing everything about that show. Very excited about that one. But right now, I've got a whole bunch of notes to get through. I meant to write a bunch more, but like I said, it's been a rough week, a lot of stuff to get through. But the end of the year is always insane when I'm juggling as many projects as I am. But that being said, I'll try to get through everything here. And of course, we're going to start with Piecing It Together, because that is the podcast that you're listening to right now. And it's been a busy year. I've done a whole lot with Piecing It Together this year, just continued episodes every freaking week, twice a week, I think. Pretty much every week of the year. I didn't go back and check, but if there's 52 weeks in a year, that means there were 104. Is that how math works? 104 episodes at least, because there was a few weeks that we had 3 episodes, and then there was also the week, I'll get to Film Quest soon, but Film Quest week where I did 5 episodes in a row. So yeah, it's been a busy year, that's for sure. I also brought back the Breaking It Apart and Missing Pieces series, which I hadn't done in like over a year, I think, at the time that I did new episodes on those. So it was fun to get back to talking about older movies too, and just flipping the format. I actually, I don't want to announce it quite yet, but I've got something exciting in that vein coming up very, very soon that I will hopefully be announcing in the next few weeks. And so yeah, more of that stuff coming. I will say I've been thinking a lot about kind of figuring out a way to fold Breaking It Apart and Missing Pieces just into the regular episodes. I feel like I'm the only person who notices that most episodes are new movies and we talk about what old movies inspired it. And then every once in a while we do these Breaking It Apart where it's an old movie and what it inspired, or Missing Pieces where it's kind of in the middle, where it's a middle movie like somewhere in the 2000s, and we talk about what inspired it and what it inspired, since it's already been 20 years. But I don't know, I kind of feel like that distinction is run its course, and I kind of want to just open the floor for being able to just do episodes on whatever movie, and it'll still mostly like 90% be all new movies, the regular Piecing It Together format, and then I just mix in older movies. What do you think about that? Let me know. Hit me up on social media or email me or comment on if this is one of the various apps you're listening on where you could comment. Let me know what you think about that. It's not something I'm going to do right away with the next Breaking It Apart or Missing Pieces, but it's something I'm definitely thinking about. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that if you're a longtime listener. But back to the year, I had 56 new guests And that's not counting all the returning guests. 56 new voices on the show. Just this awesome, diverse lineup of all different kinds of people, getting them on the show, from filmmakers to film fans to actors and actresses to writers, musicians, just all different kinds of people. And it has been awesome to open the floor to all different kinds of new people. And the live shows were a big part of that because, in Las Vegas, it's a little tough because I don't know a lot of other, film critics. I know a bunch of filmmakers, but, always finding new people for the shows, which, speaking of which, I did, I didn't do 24. I was aiming for 24, but because of Christmas, it didn't quite work out. So I did 23, almost to a month, live shows in Las Vegas this year, which is amazing. I want to send a special thank you to Downtown Cinemas and Maya Cinemas for continuing to have me back. But yeah, all these live shows, and I didn't want to just have the same people over and over, although I love getting, the regulars back, but I keep getting new people on, and that is just awesome and very exciting. And those 56 new guests that I've had on the show, a lot of them are locals, which is awesome, but then people from all over the world as well. Like, I always record episodes online, and it's just been great getting all these new people on. And back to the live shows. The fact that I've been able to keep it going all year is just really, really exciting for me. When, I finally got them going again at the end of 2022, and 2023 was kind of the first year that I was doing them regularly, but it wasn't every month. Now it's been every month, and yeah, they've just been awesome, and we're starting to see the crowds actually start to grow, and I really want to do more and more with that in the new year. I'm hoping to start kind of putting myself out there for sponsors so I can really grow it. I want to keep doing shows at Downtown Cinemas and Maya Cinemas, but I also love to travel with the show and do some live shows and, maybe go to LA or, other, drivable places, and who knows, maybe even fly places. I also want to do more theaters here in Las Vegas, although I'll keep going to Downtown Cinemas and Maya Cinemas because they are awesome. But speaking of other theaters, I also, in 2024, I got to do two really cool things. So first of all, at the Beverly Theater here in Las Vegas, at the 20th anniversary screenings of The Room, which you guys, if you listen to the show, you know that I love The Room. It's literally one of my favorite movies. Like, forget all that so bad it's good crap. It's the funniest movie ever, and it's so great. And I got to do the Q&A with Greg Sestero after two back-to-back sold-out showings at the Beverly Theater, and it was super fun. I posted one of those as a special episode here on the podcast, and just getting in front of that big crowd that was all just so ready for just Craig Sestero doing his thing and telling these stories about The Room. And I think we had a really great showing both nights, got into lots of great questions and all kinds of stuff. It was honestly just an amazing experience. And that's one thing that happened this year. The other thing is the FilmQuest Film Festival up in Provo, Utah, is an awesome genre festival that I've been in multiple times over the years with my music videos. I had gone up there when I had music videos for my albums. And the festival organizer, Jonathan Martin, he had reached out to me a while ago saying he'd love for me to come do the show up at the festival. And we didn't quite know exactly how it would work. Would I just show up and do one episode on maybe a closing night film or something like that? And so it took us a while to kind of figure out the format of how it would work. But I ended up going up there this year, and I did 7 recordings back to back on 4 films. 4 films? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 films. It was a lot. And I also watched all of the short films. That's why my math is all over the place. But I also watched all of the short films from the guests who joined me to talk about those 4 features. I had filmmakers that were at the festival with short films. I talked to them about their shorts after the main conversations about the features. So it was so much podcast, and it was awesome. It went really great, and introduced me to all kinds of new guests and filmmakers and people to work with, people to have back on the show, and just hanging out at the festival again. It was my first time back to it since the year before COVID. So I actually haven't been to any film festivals other than here in Las Vegas since before the pandemic. So it was great to just get back out there and go to a film festival, take in lots of films, go to the mingling parties and all that stuff. And it was just a great time. So hopefully I'll be back at FilmQuest again sometime. Hopefully I'll go to some more film festivals in the future. We'll see what happens. More things to look into in the future. Let's see what else went on with piecing it together this year. I had a couple more. I always like, obviously at FilmQuest, I talked to a bunch of filmmakers, but whenever possible, I like to get filmmakers on piecing it together to do follow-up episodes on films that I covered. And I got the writer of Destroy All Neighbors, Charles Piper, and the director/writer of Hundreds of Beavers, Mike Cheslick, both on the show this year. And that's always fun when I'm able to set up those kinds of follow-up interviews. So I'd love to do more of those. They just they happen when they happen. And those were both great. And Hundreds of Beavers was one of my favorite movies of the year. So getting Mike Cheslick on was really awesome. And Charles Piper had so many great stories. And that was actually part of the whole FilmQuest connection. I actually had Jonathan Martin, the producer of the FilmQuest Film Festival, as the guest on that Destroy All Neighbors episode, and that's when we really kind of got the ball rolling to make that fest happen. So, both were really great times. What else did we do in 2024? I got a lot of great press in the local papers, so really exciting to see all that kind of stuff happen. And it's honestly the hardest part of doing anything creative. With my music, it's always the hardest part too. And so the fact that I got some great articles written about what I'm doing was really, really exciting. And I also got myself out there as usual, guesting on other podcasts. I actually need to update the links page. I haven't done it in a few months now, so that's probably what I'll do after I finish recording this. But I guested on 24 podcasts this year, which is less than in previous years, but still plenty. So, I don't feel like I need to get out as much lately, but it's always fun going on other podcasts, and I get to talk about music on a bunch of podcasts this year, which was something I hadn't really done in the past. It's always movies, and I love talking movies, but it was nice to talk about music on a couple podcasts as well. So check my links page. I'll get it updated really soon with some of the more recent ones, but lots of great podcasts to check out that I was a guest on. And moving from piecing it together over to Awesome Movie Year, my other movie podcast that I produce for film critic Josh Bell and comedian Jason Harris. We kept plugging away all year long. We just keep having more and more episodes. We keep jumping from Awesome Movie Year to Awesome Movie Year. And right now we happen to be in a special retrospective season 20, which is something we've never done before. We kind of did on season 10, but we did it differently this time around, though. Instead of just going back to previous Awesome Movie Years and filling in some gaps and picking some new movies to cover that we didn't cover while doing those Awesome Movie Years, we actually did a draft, which is something that's really popular in the world of movie podcasts, but we had never done it before. And it was a really fun way to kind of strategically pick movies, and it ended up making it where I could pick Bad Boys 2, much to the chagrin of Josh Bell and Jason Harris. But it was a fun episode that's coming up really soon, I think, when the time this goes up. But it was a fun thing. And Awesome Movie Year keeps going. We already have plans in place for the next season after we get through this retrospective season. So lots more on the way from Awesome Movie Year. And I think that does it podcast wise. I got a whole lot of music stuff to talk about too. So let's see, what do we got? The big thing, well, I shouldn't say that because actually the big thing was the Pup Pups, but the other big thing, the thing that I kicked off 2024 with was 24 for 2024, which if you haven't heard about it, I mean, I've been talking about it all year long, but what it was this kind of ridiculously ambitious project that I came up with at the end of 2023, where I had just gotten a new computer, and in the process of kind of like cleaning out my folders, trying to organize stuff before switching over, I kind of made a list of all the tracks that I thought were viable to turn into songs, so I don't lose them, basically. Because in the switchover, you never know, things might get all kind of messy and whatnot. And so I went through, I made a list, and then I just started editing one song, and I edited another song, And next thing I knew, I just had all these unfinished songs that are now starting to get to the point of almost finished. But I was like, they don't quite fit like an album. How should I like release this stuff? What should I do with it? I don't want it to just keep sitting there unreleased. This stuff. I'm actually getting ready to release a new album at the end of 2025, and I don't want all this stuff to just keep being on the back burner. And I came up with this idea, 24 for 2024, where I would release one song as a single on the first and third Friday of every month of the year, 24 songs in 2024. And I got them all finished and scheduled for release before New Year's Eve last year. And so that way I joked about it that, I could disappear and these songs would all come out. They were all just in the pipeline to hit all the streaming services. And they did. They came out on the first and third Friday of every month. And in some ways it was a successful thing. In some ways it kind of wasn't. It was successful because I did see an uptick in my listeners. There was definitely where my listenership on like Spotify and Apple Music was where it was at the end of 2023. And by now, the end of 2024, it is definitely improved. I've been added to lots of new playlists. There's all kinds of new people listening. So it did work in a way as far as the idea of this is, the 21st century. People like singles and playlists, and they don't really care about albums anymore, even though I care about albums. But it worked in that sense. Where it didn't work was that keeping up with 24 singles every other week basically is a little tough. And I had plans for these like animated little video clips to add to them, and to add them to my stories and use that kind of stuff as promotional material, and do some more music videos. And I started at the beginning of the year. I was like pre-typing out. I was getting all like social media guru-ish. I was pre-typing out like tweets for each one, like talking a little bit about what the songs were, and also I know AI is a hot button topic and all that, but I had made these AI artwork things for each track, and I had made a video of me making each one of these AI artworks and just kind of laughing at the bad versions that the AI prompts would pump out, and like just showing the process of how I actually got to the final pieces and all that. And I did like none of that. I didn't even release those videos. The tweets, I kind of almost stopped announcing these tracks as they would come out every other week. Like once in a while when I remembered I would. I played a lot of them as my closing songs on Piecing It Together episodes, but otherwise I did a really bad job of actually promoting them from every other week to week. So in that sense, it wasn't quite as successful as I had hoped. But something really unexpected and cool happened though towards the end of the year, which is I started thinking to myself, like, what did 24 for 2024 kind of lead to? Like, if you're releasing singles, usually that's leading to an album or something. And I started thinking also, I didn't really want those AI artwork covers to like be out there forever, because they were just placeholders really. And, it's kind of gross. And so I started thinking like, okay, maybe I take them all and make them an album, even though, like I said at the beginning, they weren't meant to be an album, but, it's like a compilation album. And, sometimes like with like greatest hits albums or like, rarities compilations, things like that, an artist will put a few bonus tracks or whatever, right? And so I went back to those folders that I had organized at the end of 2023. And I was like, let's see if I could find 4 extra tracks, and I will make it 24. I was going to call it 24 for 24 plus 4 more, which is a really stupid name, but that's what I was going to call it, And so I went in, I started looking, and I found one track, I found another track, started editing these tracks. I found another, I found this other one. I found it. Next thing you know, I had 16 more songs that were just as good as anything that I released for 24 for 2024. And again, all of those to begin with were as good as anything on any of my albums. They just either, the albums were already too long and I didn't need more tracks on them, or maybe there was another song on the album that sounded a little too similar and it wouldn't fit on the same album, or maybe it was like, oh, this one doesn't fit on this album, but I bet it'll fit on the next one, and then the next one comes and it doesn't fit on there. It keeps going and going. And yeah, these are all just totally album worthy, awesome tracks. And so what I decided to do is take these 16 more tracks that I found, plus the 24 for 2024. So that's a total of 40 tracks. And at the end of January, I'm releasing what I'm calling Missing Pieces 2018 to 2024. And yes, I do know that Missing Pieces is the name of my Piecing It Together side series for those, those movies from the like 2000s that are kind of right in between Breaking It Apart and Piecing It Together. This is nothing to do with that. It just so happens to be a perfect name because that's what these are. They're missing pieces. There's these songs that just kind of fell through the cracks, never got finished, never got released, but now they are finished and now they are getting released. And even though I'm saying it has nothing to do with Piecing It Together, it just so happens that all 40, not even 24, all 40 of these tracks are from 2018 to 2024, which is exactly when I've been doing Piecing It Together. So in a way, it kind of ties in really well. But, that's definitely, it's not a Piecing It Together thing. It is definitely a My Music thing. It'll be out the last Friday of January. And I'm really excited about it. I mean, these songs, I just can't believe how good they came out. They're like combined with the 24 for 2024 stuff. I feel like you are getting the full picture of everything that I've been doing musically over the last 6 years. And like I said, I have a new album that will be out at the end of 2025. That's called And Other Unexplained Phenomena. I was working on that at the same time as More Content, my 2023 album, and that kind of completes the story of my music from 2018 on to 2025, basically. If you combine More Content, Missing Pieces, which is, the combination of all these unreleased tracks, and then And Other Unexplained Phenomena, which I don't have an exact release date yet. I still have to finish some tracks and planning some stuff with it, but it'll be probably around August, September, October, somewhere in that range. But combining it all, it is everything that's worthwhile that I have made in those 6 years, 7 years, including 2025. Although I'll only be finishing songs. I'm strictly not making any more songs for that new album. So really, yeah, through 2024. Yeah, it's wild. It's a lot of music, but I'm so proud of it all. And speaking of music that I'm proud of, I also in 2024, so in 2023, after 15 years, I finally released the Pup Pups album called Who Wants Din Din. For those that don't know, it is a project, a silly comedy novelty project of songs about, and in some cases sung by, my pets. Mainly my dog Harvey, who is the lead singer of the band. But yeah, it was something I had been working on in the background like his entire life. And like I said, 15 years. I finally released the first album. And then last year, as I was getting towards the end of the year, I started kind of thinking about more songs. And then in January, I started recording a couple more. And next thing you know, within a month, I had the Pup Pups album, which is just crazy and insane. It was called Variety Snaps. It's amazing. You can go check it out. And then who thought I was ever going to have a second album? But then about 6 months later, I started working on the third album, and now this is the most recent thing I've put out musically. It was just on December 7th, which happened to be Harvey's 17th birthday. A Boy and His Dog and Three Cats and a Bear, and it is just so great, and I put it out on vinyl. The vinyl actually came in yesterday, so I'm starting to ship those out in the next couple of days. But these two albums that I put out this year, really, like, as much as my David Rosen instrumental music is, it's me, it's my career, it's what I put out under my name. This has just become the most fun stuff to make. And I'm actually like 5 or 6 songs into a new Pup Pups album already because it's just so much fun. And I'm just having a blast with it. And of course, Harvey's 17 now. We don't know how long he's going to be around, so I'm kind of striking while the iron's hot. But it's just been a blast making these songs with him and getting him on the songs and making little silly videos to go along with them. And so yeah, the Pup Pups has just been like my favorite thing to do. But we'll see. There should be another album this year, and hopefully, Harvey's still doing great. So hopefully he'll be rocking for a while. But back to my music. I also scored some films this year. I scored two shorts for director Chris Johnson, who I've worked with many times in the past. He is also the guy who I collaborated with on the feature film Beater a few years ago and put out a soundtrack album for. Also, Blind Malice, another soundtrack album that I put out with him. But yeah, I scored two shorts for him this year, Violets at Twilight and The Angel of Death. And then I will be working on a feature with him very soon, I think in the first few months of 2025. So yeah, more stuff with Chris is always fun to work on. He's got a similarly dark sense of filmmaking like I do. So we do a lot of great collaborations, I feel like. I also worked for the first time with Max Wood from the Galaxy of Film podcast on a short that he directed called which will be out soon. And he also directed my next music video, which is for a song called Begin Again, which was on the 24 for 2024 thing, whatever you want to call it, and is basically the kickoff for Missing Pieces. So that'll be out on January 1st, actually. So that was really cool. And then Tethered just came out like a week ago, which is a film that I scored, I think a little over a year ago, and it's finally out on YouTube. So I should definitely check that out. And I was planning on releasing a single from like the main theme, and I never did that. I should add that to the Patreon soon, and then I don't know, maybe I'll release it at some point still. Let's see what else. I only did one music video in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta be mistaken. Didn't I do more than one? I don't know. I only have one written down here, so it must be right. I don't know. But it's actually one that I had done for years. But like I said, all the 24 for 2024 stuff was just sitting on the back burner and never got released. And this was one of those songs that was done and just sitting there and just never fit on a couple of albums, actually. And so it finally came out, and that's a song called Burn. And the music video was made by this animator / musician, and I'm not going to say his name, although you can find it by going to YouTube. But yeah, he has been a little bit of a rough collaborator. I'm sure he won't be listening to this, but he is working on another music video for me, and it's been like over 2 years I've been waiting for it, and unfortunately I paid him in advance, so I don't know if I'm ever going to get that video, but Burn came out cool, so we'll see if he ever comes through with that second one. Like I said, I'm sure he's not listening, but if you are, where's my music video? Let's get that thing done at this point. Aside from that one that's still in the works, I've also been working with some filmmakers on some new music videos for next year's 2 releases. So those have been just kind of ongoing projects. They're obviously not done yet, but they are on the way. And I have 2 other music videos that are done, but they're for next year's album. So I'll just be kind of holding them until then. But yeah, it's going to be exciting when And Other Unexplained Phenomena comes out. I'm going to actually have a bunch of music videos to promote the album with. So lots of really cool stuff for next year. And I think that takes us to the end of the music. So I guess I'll also just mention that my comedy rap group Demise and D-Rocks might be back in 2025 because we finally started some new songs. So Demise has been waiting a long, long time, and I promise you I'm not going to promote any of that stuff, but doesn't mean I'm not going to make it. So more of that on the way, and more of a whole bunch of other stuff too. I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff because it was a really busy year. I know I worked on some other stuff in 2024, but I can't remember at this point. So yeah, I mean that's kind of getting us to the end here. My wife Gina and we went to a bunch of concerts this year. Let's see, I actually wrote them down. We went to see Collective Soul, U2, Tool, Bruce Springsteen. I saw Front 242 myself. Nas, Casey Musgraves, Sting and Billy Joel, and Melissa Etheridge and Jewel. It was a big year of concerts for us. We also went on a few trips. And yeah, I mean, it was a great year all around. You know what else I got here? I mentioned this already on social media, but I did jot it down here in case you didn't see it. I'll just mention it because I'm about to do the top 10 films of the year episode and all that stuff. So I might as well mention here, I've got it written down, my top 10 albums of 2024. because when I get to number one, you'll know why I'm mentioning this because it kind of was a big part of 2024 for me. But starting from 10 going down, Phosphorescent Revelator, which is a kind of Americana artist that I had never heard of before this year, but really, really great stuff. Ryan Adams' Heatwave. Ryan Adams is one of my favorite artists, even though a lot of people are kind of over him. But he came out with 5 albums in 2024. If I'm counting, it might even have been 6 albums, and they're all great, of course. But yeah, Heatwave. One of the best of the bunch. There's a second one coming up in a little bit here. Ministry, Hopium for the Masses. Ministry has been putting out albums forever. I mean, they're one of my biggest influences ever since like the early 90s, but everything they've put out has been pretty terrible for like 20 years. And this album was really, really good, which is just crazy and very, very surprising. So it's exciting to have a new Ministry album that's actually good. Kendrick Lamar, GNX. I never really got into Kendrick Lamar, but this is an undeniably great album. And yeah, I've been listening to it the last couple weeks, and it's pretty damn great. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's Challengers score. I don't usually put film scores on my top 10 albums lists because it's kind of a separate thing, but it's basically a new instrumental Nine Inch Nails album in a way, and it's awesome. So I put it on the list. Like I just said about Ministry not putting out very good stuff recently, Jack White's No Name is definitely his best solo album. I loved the White Stripes back in the day, and I have not really liked any of his solo work. And it's just all of his solo stuff just got too like experimental and weird, and I just could not get into any of it. But this album just feels like a total throwback to the White Stripes, and with just enough of that Jack White experimental, bent going on. And it's awesome. It's such a great album. Next up, the other Ryan Adams album, Star Sign. More awesome stuff. This one's been taken off of Spotify for some reason. I hope it comes back on soon, even though Spotify is, the devil. But, that's where I listen to music, so I hope it goes back up. Next up is Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft, which another artist like Kendrick Lamar, a very popular artist that I just never got into. I never really particularly liked what I heard from her. Some of it was all right, but this album's freaking great. And yeah, I mean, it's just beginning to end, the whole thing is just incredible. So starting to slowly get into her, I guess. Next up is Casey Musgraves, Deeper Well, which it definitely fits right into the kind of music that I love, and it's just a freaking amazing album from beginning to end. And I had not listened to her before this year, but I've actually gotten into her earlier stuff more than this album. So the fact that it's so high says a lot about her as an artist. And then, of course, number one is The Cure's Songs of a Lost World. I waited for so many years for a new Cure album. If you listen to the show, you probably have heard me mention before that The Cure is my favorite band, and this album is so important to me, and it delivered in ways you can't even imagine. It is one of their best albums, literally, and we waited 16 years for a new album, and they just all of a sudden released one of their best albums. It's insane, and I've been listening to it pretty much on repeat ever since it came out, and it just does not get old, and it only keeps getting better and better. And I'm one of those people who loves the kind of later era Cure stuff. Like, I do not think their 2000s albums are bad like a lot of people do, but I think they're actually great. But it doesn't matter. Just because we've had relatively recent good Cure, it's amazing to have something that's this level. And yeah, it's just wild, and it makes me so happy, and it's a big part of what's made 2024 the year that it is. So yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap all this up. Like I said at the beginning, it's been a busy couple of weeks here trying to wrap up the end of the year and all the projects and all the podcasts and everything else I'm working on. So I didn't get a chance to kind of dig in and find more stuff. But hey, I've talked solo for over 30 minutes now. I think that's good enough. So that is 2024. Thank you, as always, for listening. You can subscribe to Piecing It Together wherever you're listening right now. Follow us on social media at Piecing Pod. Don't forget to join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. You can also check out my music at bydavidrosen.com. Music by David Rosen on all the socials. And yeah, I mean, the new Pup Ups albums, the pupups.bandcamp.com. Get that vinyl. It's $30, which is expensive, but that's basically it cost me like $28 to print them on vinyl. It's like so expensive. So if you want to support what I'm doing, that would be the coolest thing for you to do. But of course, just keep listening, keep sharing, keep commenting, get in touch. I love hearing from people. I hope to get all kinds of new people on the podcast in the new year. And with that said, let's close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And what should I play to close us out today? You know what? I'm going to play a track from the whole Missing Pieces project that's about to come out here. And I think, this is one of my favorite tracks on the whole thing. I'm so excited that I was able to kind of find and save all this music that otherwise would have gotten, deleted or just kind of like shoved in a folder and never looked at ever again. And this is one of those tracks that would have just gotten tossed out, but I managed to find it and kind of tinker with it a little bit, and it turned into something that I'm just so happy with and so proud of and so excited about. It's a track called Shaking. It'll be on Missing Pieces when it comes out at the end of January. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back more piecing it together real soon.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.